Great leaders determine where they want their group or team to go and how they will win. Don't get tangled up on the terminology. It doesn't really matter whether this is called a mission, vision, or strategy. Instead, have a laser focus about where you want your team to go. Jack said, an effective mission statement is one which answers one question: how do we intend to win in this business? Every employee will know what they're coming to work to do and how they will win and what's in it for them if they do. Effectively answering this question requires companies to make choices about people, investments, and other resources. This approach prevents a company from falling into the common mission trap of asserting they will be all things to all people at all times, and forces them to define their strengths and weaknesses in order to assess where they can profitably play in the competitive landscape. Some questions to help you determine your mission might include: what are we about as an organization? What is our purpose? What is our big goal? What do we want our organization to be?
The mission starts with you, the leader, since you will be held accountable for it. But what if you aren't the CEO? Even if you don't get to set the mission for the whole organization, you can still lead the way in developing a mission statement for your team. To craft a powerful mission statement, you need to listen to everyone with something smart to say about your market and your product, especially contrarians and customers. Gather data galore. You can and should get input from anywhere, and you should listen to smart people from every corner. But setting the mission is top management's responsibility, and you must make a choice about how your company will win. A mission cannot be delegated to anyone except the people ultimately held accountable for it. In fact, mission setting can be a defining moment for a company's leadership. The final simplicity of good mission statements can be deceptive, but in fact, they are the result of long and hard discussions among the leadership team. Hard because they must work through the implications of what stays and what goes, where trade-offs will be made, where resources will be focused and where they will be withdrawn, which projects are consistent with the mission and which are not. The leadership team needs to be able to predict the implications of the vision for a range of future contingencies, most yet unknown. Ideally, the essence of a mission can be captured in a compelling couple of sentences, but this statement cannot stand alone. People need to engage around it and translate it into the specifics of what we need to do and what success will look like. Taking the time to work through these elements helps ensure that the pieces fit together. It should be clear from the complexity underlying the mission and vision discussions that this is an iterative process. Leadership team members often need to revisit the developing mission statements multiple times, gather more information, confer with other people, and negotiate among themselves in order to arrive at something compelling and workable. Having a mission statement is only half the battle. Outlining the values or behaviors that will get you there is the other half. The idea of values may sound vague. Many companies print them on posters for their walls and on wallet cards for employees to carry. But make no mistake, the meaning is concrete. Values need to be translated into specific behaviors that can be observed, communicated, taught, measured, and rewarded. There are common mistakes you need to avoid, such as writing vague value statements that don't point to specific behaviors. They need to be well-defined, real, and at the core of your organization's way of being. Remember, values need to be descriptive. Values such as customer-centric, value quality, respect people, are examples of generic values that won't get you there. Instead, values that are defined more specifically, such as act like owners or listen to customers, will naturally point to more specific behaviors. Values define a company's culture. And ultimately, a company's culture can be more powerful than rules and policies in keeping businesses running the right way. A rules and regulation environment, where practically the only time something is highlighted or brought up is as a violation, is the opposite of a values-based culture. Take speed, a value that many of the best companies in the world embrace. You can have rules galore to enforce speed, such as answer the phone on one ring, and so on. But when you imagine speed as a value, as a big, exciting, important behavior that everyone should strive to achieve, using their most expansive, innovative thinking, then suddenly you would have people seeking ways to reduce approval levels, create flexibility in their calendars, and rewarding action over procrastination. Here, leaders let people know how to win, and they reward them for doing things the right way. In the process, they create a positive and energizing atmosphere. Often, rules can't even begin to encourage the right behaviors. A perfect example is boundarylessness, which describes a culture of vibrant idea sharing and the willingness to embrace great practices, no matter where they come from. With boundarylessness, employees openly exchange best practices between businesses or units, and managers make key employees available to other units that might have a real need for them, rather than hoarding them, which unfortunately is an all too common practice. What rules could possibly make these things happen? The short answer is none. Yet, in a values-based system, with the right rewards in place, boundarylessness can flourish. As opposed to mission statements, which are always transmitted from the top down, values should be developed in a more participative way. First, an organization's leadership defines its mission and builds a strategy around achieving it. Too often, however, that's where the process stops. The leadership, upon settling on the mission, sees its job as done. It's not. Linking the mission with a values-based culture brings it all together. That's why once the mission is set, it is important for team members at all levels of the organization to participate in setting values. After all, they must practice the behaviors that will achieve the mission. There needs to be a common, agreed-upon definition for values and an understanding that without practicing the behaviors, the organizational mission will not be accomplished. With your mission set, more of your team must get involved in establishing values. After all, you are trying to describe the best behaviors of your best employees on their best days, with enough clarity to make those behaviors easy to emulate, measure, and reward. Consider some of the best values we've heard. Never lose a superstar. Communicate bad news quickly. Take personal ownership of results, not process. Hate bureaucracy and the bureaucrats who practice it. Unlike the usual drivel, those mean something. They compel action and create a culture.
A concrete mission is great, and values that describe specific behaviors are too. But for mission and values to truly work together as a winning proposition, they have to be mutually reinforcing. It seems obvious, doesn't it, that a company's values should support its mission. But it's easy for that not to be the case. A disconnect between the parts of a company's framework probably is more of a sin of omission than of commission, but it often happens. In the most common scenario, a company's mission and its values rupture due to the little crises of daily life in business. For example, a competitor moves into town and lowers prices, and so do you, undermining your mission of competing on extreme customer service. Or a downturn hits, so you cut your advertising budget, forgetting your mission to enhance and extend your brand. These examples of disconnects may sound minor or temporary, but when left unattended, they can really hurt a company. In fact, in the worst-case scenario, they can literally destroy a business.